All right, hello everybody, it's Mr. Rowden here, and today what we're going to look at is how to take a circle that has been graphed already and how to take what you see on the graph and turn that into an equation. So when you do this right here will be our example. I'm using Delta Math, but what I'll do here applies to anything that you're doing involving a graph circle. So the two things you focus on, there's really only two pieces of information you need when you're taking a circle and writing it as an equation. And the two things you need are the center, which is the point right in the middle of the circle. So for this particular circle, the center is the point right there where my mouse is at. You see where my little cursor's at? Right there. If you ever struggle to find the center, or if you have a point and you think you have the center, just count, and it should be the same number of units to go up and hit a side as it would be to go down and hit a side. So for example, from right here, it's 1, 2, 3, and we've hit a side. And going down, 1, 2, 3, and we hit a side. And then it should also be the same going left to right. 1, 2, 3, and we hit a side. Go back to my center. 1, 2, 3, and we hit a side. So that's how you can test yourself if it's a big circle and hard to tell. So this is our center right here. So the two things you're going to focus on is where the center of the circle is and what the radius of the circle is. So I'm going to write this down so we can keep track. We need to know the center. So we need the center, and we're going to call that point h comma k. Okay, and the other thing we need is the radius, which we're going to call r. All right, so we have our center, and we have our radius. Looking at this specific problem, the center is at this point right here. And you're going to describe the center by first saying what the x coordinate and what the y coordinate are of that center. So for this point that I have right here, it's at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then go up 1, 2. Okay? So the x value is 7, the y value is 2 of that center. So I'm going to write it over here just to keep track. So the center I said was at 7, 2. And then the radius. Now remember, the radius of a circle is just the distance from the center to one of the sides. So if I take this center right here, and if I just count 1, 2, 3, I've hit a side. It works in any direction. Go up. 1, 2, 3, you've hit a side. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So always find the center first, because then it's easy to find the radius. So in this particular example, the radius is 3. Okay? Now, the only real work you have to do involving the graph is finding the center and then finding the radius. Now that I have both of these, I'm done using the graph. I'm not even going to look at the graph again, because the next thing you need to remember is this equation right here. Okay, you see that? The equation is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. And that is the equation that you will use every single time you do one of these problems. So I'm going to take the hk that I found off of the graph and the r that I found off the graph, and I'm just going to plug it into the generic formula, and it will be the same process every single time. So let's do that. So minus, I'll take the h that I already found, which is 7. Take the k that we already found, which was 2. And then r, we already found that, which was 3. Okay? And then the only like calculation or problem solving you'll ever do on these would be when you plug this in, since the negative comes from the equation, if h or k is a negative, you'd have minus a negative and that'd become a positive, so that could happen. And then you always need to take this and square it. So the final answer here will just look like this. And there we go. Now we're done. Okay? So that's all you need to do when you have an equation. I'm sorry, not when you have an equation. When you have a graph of a circle and you turn it into an equation. So if I was to plug this in, I do x minus 7 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals 9. And it's happy. Let me do one more problem just for the sake of an example, and then that will be it. Okay, for this one, let's look. Where is our center? Where is our radius? Our center this time is right here. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So same distance from all sides. Center is right here. This point, the x is at right here, -6. The y is over here at 7. So this point is at -6, 7. And the radius, we already actually did it while checking if we were in the center. It's actually the same as last time. It's 3 away from any edge. So the radius is 3. And again, I'm going to make the screen big now because that's all we needed from the graph. So the radius is 3. Okay? Now you just plug it into the equation and simplify everything. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Notice what I'm doing. I'm just writing minus -6. I'm keeping the negative that comes from the equation. I'm keeping the negative that comes from -6. And I will solve it on the next step. This is the slower, longer way to do it, but it's how you can prevent making mistakes. Okay, now let's just go to the next step and simplify everything. Remember, minus a negative becomes positive. There we go, and we're done. That would be the final answer. You plug it in, and it will be happy. So that is how you do a graph of a circle and turn it into an equation. If you're a student of mine and you have a question, just send me an email. And if you have any other questions or would like me to make a video on anything else, please just mention it in the comments.